It's Friday night. They go on the stage in about 1 or 2 minutes.
I believe that we're going to be sold out.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to You'll Probably Agree. Today, we are talking about a follow-up to one of my favorite documentaries, The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, and that's Arcade and Love Songs, The Ballad of Walter Day. So I'll get started right on the first question. I always wondered how, because The King of Kong now came out in 2007, so it's like 2 years short of being 20 years old, I think. How have your lives changed after that movie released?
Well, as far as me, in the business world and the career world, it's changed very little. In the world of video games, the interaction, the travel, the filming, the shows has only skyrocketed. And, the success in of my family and children is beyond anything that I could have ever imagined. So life is very, very, very good. Very good.
That's great. It's great to hear. How about for you, Walter?
It inspired me because I talked about the music, and the music became part of the King of Kong legacy, and it inspired me to want to continue dreaming about it and focusing on it and trying to make it someday happen. And it's funny, I'll explain the genesis. 40 years ago, I had a glamorous girlfriend who one night said, worked through that she was going to be with someone else, and I was brokenhearted. And in that heartedness, I started hearing music come up. It became an interesting experience, and I was like listening, like I was channeling a radio station with original songs, with books, lyrics, melodies, harmonics. And I wrote the songs down and sang them on a tape recorder. And by the time the whole process was over, I had 138 original songs. And I was so transfixed by that, I vowed that someday I was going to get up on the stage and I was going to produce those songs and sing those songs, even though I never had any dream or an intention of being a singer. And actually, I didn't even have a singing voice, but I was determined I was going to do this, fixated on it. 20 years after that, when The King of Kong was filmed, I talked at length to the director and producer of The King of Kong about how my dream was to retire from video games and do the music. They were intrigued by that and actually put my music in the film, as you know, and people begin to hear me sing my songs. Now, 20 years later, after that, even that moment, me and Billy were at an event in Pomona, California, and some people came out of the crowd and announced that they were the creators of a very successful mobile game called Color Switch, and they were intrigued by this King of Kong story, and they wanted to know whatever happened to that music, Walter. And I told them it still is my dream, and I just hope that someday I can do it. And they said, well, we have the ability to pay for your album. We want to produce your album as a free gift to you with no strings attached. Next thing I know, I'm in a music studio recording my album. Meanwhile, Ed Cunningham, the producer of The King of Kong from 20 years earlier, learned that my album was finally being made, and he thought, oh my God, what a great story this would be. The story of a man who at the end of his years never gave up his dream, still believed in his vision, and managed to bring his dream to life. And so he thought, we got to do this story. And that's the story of Arcades and Love Songs. And the motto of the movie is, it's never too late.
Mm. And what were like your influences when you were creating music? Like, who did you? I know you're a big Swiftie, as we saw in the documentary. You're a big Taylor Swift
Oh,
fan.
yeah.
Yeah. What other were there other influences that you had when you were creating your music?
Well, the interesting thing about Taylor Swift is I had just literally discovered her like a month before we filmed the movie,
Yeah.
and she was brand new to me, and I was out there trying to find out what other people were writing, what their lyrics were like, and stuff like that. And then I discovered some of her songs, and I thought, my God, this is really good songwriting. And so that's why I said in the movie, have you ever heard of her? And do you have any idea how good she is? Because I was so amazed by her songwriting. But as far as I love 80s rock bands. I love Journey. I love Ford.
Mm.
I love, all that kind of stuff. The Eagles. And so my music palette is all over the place. All sorts of different songs, different styles, different feelings. And so each song's its own identity.
So were you guys trepidatious at all into going into this film? Because like the last time when we see the King of Kong, Billy isn't exactly painted in the most courageous light. And I know there was some internet fallout, as this documentary shows, after that movie. So when you guys came into this, were you like, okay, we'll do this, but we really want it to be about the music. We don't want it to be like some sort of skewered narrative. Like, how did you guys feel about going into this film?
First of all, you had to be courageous in order to be painted as that antagonistic. That's the way we looked at it.
Hmm.
We always tell people, or I always tell people, the King of Kong is skewed a little. It only shows the good qualities within me, so you should be cautious. But with all that humor aside, uh, quite honestly, we know a heck of a lot more about what we're doing now than we did way back when. And but we were adamant. I was adamant in speaking to the uh, director, Ed Cunningham, that this had to be about Walter. It had to be.
Mhm.
It couldn't be about the old subject. And again, I've apologized many times that I was so suspicious that he had some other agenda in mind, because he didn't.
Mhm.
And we did not have any trouble with that. But that was absolutely in the front of my mind initially, that this was just going to be a continuation of the story from before. And not that that can't happen, but it can't happen in this film. This film is about Walter because, again, he was just about to begin producing his album. Timing is everything in this world, and the timing to put this film together absolutely came together at a moment when um, Ed Cunningham was talking to me about other options, and this option came up, and luck, and very happily, I can say that it overshadowed other opportunities.
Oh, that's great. How about you, Walter? How did you feel about going into this film?
Well, uh, I was just simply amazed by the by just how everything fit together. Because I had begun to fear that I was never going to have the music come out, that I was going to die unfulfilled because of getting older and older. And uh, and the fact that Ed felt Ed felt that there was a deep, important story in this that needed to be brought out. And now, after many, many people seeing the film, it actually is a very heartfelt. I mean, when when the manager of the Long Beach Art Theater, when we did a showing in April, when after the showing, she came up to Ed and said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you for making a good movie about good people. It is such a refreshing thing. It's almost like it's the need of the time to have a more kinder, gentler, more loving kind of movie get made that just addresses heartfelt values and uh, and uh, and just the joy of being successful and uplifting other people." And so that's sort of like the dynamic energy that's in it. And so I'm so pleased that that should be one of my final life statements, that I was part of a story that was positive, uplifting, nourishing, considerate, loving. And that's it's a small offering, but it's a positive offering. And to me, at this point in my life, that is so important.
Yeah. One thing the documentary really goes over, and I kind of get this really positive vibe from you, is that you really care about other people and you think about them before you think about yourself. How was like helping other people help shape your life?
Well, uh, I was the scorekeeper for the whole world, and most of my attention was on honoring and uplifting other people for their. I wanted to recognize them. Um, I wanted to recognize them for their excellence and for their accomplishments. And Twin Galaxies was completely a device created to honor excellence in action, to honor skill, and honor advanced aspects of creativity and intelligence as expressed in higher levels of video game play. So
Mm.
I was very, very much in love with the idea of honoring people for their incredible for their gifted faculties, and also for their stick to itiveness to go out and learn a game, develop the skill set to beat the game, and then be the best in the world. And
Yeah.
that's what brought Billy Mitchell into the fray, because he was the best in the world in many, many things.
Yeah. So, Billy, how have you gotten to know Walter throughout the years as this kind of compassionate, giving guy?
Well, what happened was, as he said, throughout the years of being the father of esports, trying to create a network of gaming that would bring people to the forefront, that would show them skills and honor them for their accomplishments. Never at any point was he doing anything that was fulfilling him in any negative manner. I mean, it wasn't a financial gain, it wasn't some level of notoriety that he was chasing. He was constantly putting things together in an unselfish manner. So, as time went on, more and more people saw that, more and more people got behind him, more and more people wanted to support him. We used to say that if he wanted to do it without us, he could still do it. He just couldn't do it as well.
Mm.
But the truth is, if we wanted to do it without him, we simply couldn't do it. We wouldn't be able to get it done. So as his support network grew more and more, um, the true character of Walter began to come out. Well, then when he retires in 2014, there are so many people who want to know what it is they can do to support him in the same manner that he supported so many for so many years. And that was sort of a rallying cry to push Walter to his final dream, excuse me, to his current dream, which is music. Who knows what comes after this?
Yeah. How did you manage to write like 150 songs? Because that's that's quite a number. Like, what kept you going and creating them and finding like an individual voice to each song?
Well, there's a couple creative elements. I talk about the fact that I sit down every day and I practice transcendental meditation. When
Hmm.
you do TM, that actually does something to the creative lobes, the creative areas of the brain, and enhances them and energizes them and removes stress out of them so that you have just a clear creative process going on. Between the impulses of music I was hearing, like listening, it was like I was listening to a radio station just inside. And between meditating and listening to a radio station, I was able to come up with songs. And the lyrics would just pop into my head. The chord progressions would just pop into my head. It was like they were coming out of the clear blue.
Wow. What like as you say in the documentary, and I don't know how much you want to talk about it because I know you don't like giving her name away or anything. How did your like sort of true love like inspire your songs?
Well, the heartbreak, when she broke up with me, I had this incredible emotional heartbreak. And in the middle of that heartbreak is when the music started surfacing and coming out.
Hmm.
So I consider them that they directly correlated.
Yeah. Do you know if there was like a certain day you realized I have to retire from Twin Galaxies if I really want this musical career to really transpire? Was there like a certain day that happened, or was it just sort of like happening over a long period of time? And you finally decided, okay, it's time to switch gears.
Well, he was talking about it for 10 years prior to.
Oh no, I started openly talking about it in the summer of 2000.
Wow, that's a long time ago. How do you keep your spirits up, going through every day? Because I know you had a lot of legal troubles when it came to people who, in my opinion, were pulling defamation of character. How did you like keep your spirits up during that time?
Well, I keep talking about my meditation. The transcendental meditation actually soothes the nerves. It just organizes the brain and makes it easier to move forward and actually feel comfortable despite outside stress.
Yeah.
You can handle the stress level a lot better when you're sitting down 2 times a day and meditating. And so that was, and I talk about this to a lot of people, and a lot of people have started practicing transcendental meditation because of what I've told them has been my experience under stress, under fire. Uh, some people just have a cooler head under fire, and when you do TM, you have a cooler head.
Mm. Yeah, I've heard that a lot. I kind of want to study it because David Lynch did it a lot. So it kind of made me actually
Oh yeah,
consider getting into it. How do you actually like look that up? Do you just like go on the internet and they have that, or is it just
you,
like a
you go
class you take?
you go to the website called tm.org,
Hmm.
and there'll be a box that says "Find me a local TM teacher," and you put
Okay.
whatever you put in it. I don't know, and then they'll send you contact information for who your local. Where do you actually where do you live?
I live in Chicago.
Oh, Chicago. Okay,
Yeah.
Popeland.
Hopeland. Okay, I'll look that up. Anyways, it looks like we're out of time. This was amazing. I've always loved the King of Kong, and I'm so happy to be able to talk with you guys. It's been a blast. Again, Walter Day, Billy Mitchell. The movie is Arcades and Love Songs, The Ballad of Walter Day. Go check it out when it releases. I think it releases on TV, VOD, digital release on June 9th. So
Correct.
go check it out,
That's
guys.
correct.
Yeah,
It's available worldwide on June 9th.
excellent.
As will be my CD. As will be my CD too.
Whoa, okay. We gotta check that out. And yeah, you can always get that CD and get it on your iPhone too. But I miss physical media, but that's a whole other conversation. All right. Well, thanks a lot,
Okay.
guys, for tuning in. Goodbye.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Mike.